Good morning. We are grateful to gather online and some in person as the Unitarian Universalist Society for inspiration, music, learning, and conversation. I'm Peggy Garrigus, Director of Congregational Life, and your Zoom host for this morning. Today, we begin our first multi-platform service on a very small scale. Almost all of our worship leaders are live in person in the sanctuary at UUS, as well as a few others who are watching and helping us clarify what we need to do as more people are invited to attend in person. If you are visiting our service today, welcome. We hope you find the service meaningful. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't all believe the same things, but we affirm 7 principles that guide our life together and in the world. One of those principles is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Reverend Diana Smith, our minister, will be giving the sermon and leading many parts of the service. I will be filling in for the worship associate. Marcia Thrall, our new director of Lifespan Religious Education, will be leading the Time for All Ages. Dave Rowe, our online music leader, and Alex Heatland, our new director of Congregational Music, will be providing the music, along with singing from Dave's partner, Stacy Guth, and singers from our UUS choir. Jeff Welberg, who is both our new staff AV coordinator and also our publicity coordinator, will be running our slides today, and Emma Barnum, our congregational administrator, will be providing technical support. And now over to Reverend Diana for our call to gather.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Diana Smith, the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society, and it is wonderful to be with you all this morning. In these times of change, it is so important to be together, to come together as a spiritual community, to gain the sustenance that we each and all need, and to help nourish each other. As members of a covenantal faith that expresses our core value of love through how we agree to be together and to support each other, it is good to come together and to affirm that even when we are not all together in body, though some of us are, this congregation remains strong and connected. And to affirm that wherever any of us is on our life's journey, whether we come to worship with joy in our hearts, weighted with burdens, in need of rest, or searching for people to engage in the struggle with us, we are glad. And this community is glad that we are here. Today, we are glad to be together reflecting on and celebrating what it means to be seeking grace, creativity, and play in the midst of change. And so, in that spirit, I share with you words from the Reverend Hannah Roberts Villeneuve, who writes, "Here we are again, where exactly we might not be sure, and why exactly we might not agree. So let me state what I know with as much certainty as I can muster. We are not here because life is wonderful. We are here because life is exhilarating, heartbreaking, disorienting, soul-shaking. We are here because we are not here because these people are easy. We are here because we are most human, most humane, when we have another to hold up the mirror, to show us the entirety of our possibility. We are not here because we have answers. We are here because we are, each of us, lost and found, all at once, seeking grace and showing it, finding our way home together. We are not here because we are unafraid. We are here because we have found that there are fears worth facing, risks worth taking, that we'd rather not face them, that we'd rather not face life alone. So come, beloveds, let us worship together. And so as we begin, Alex Heatland, our new director of music, will lead us in the hymn number 1000, Morning Has Come. If you're at home, we invite you to sing as loud as you're like. If you're here in the sanctuary, we invite you to sing quietly into your mask or to hum.
Good morning. Good morning. We are all experimenting this morning. We have some new microphones and some new technology we're trying out. So I'm sorry if on Zoom the piano doesn't sound great. We're working on it. And I hope you can understand my words. And for you that are here in person, this might seem quite loud, but it's to facilitate the Zoom. So if you give us some grace on that, let's sing together. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety, to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. Please join me in saying our words for lighting our chalice. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant, with life and one another. Each week, we also light a candle for justice and healing. As we do so, we hold space for our feelings of rage and heartbreak over the ongoing pandemics of illness and racism and the waves of trauma washing over our world. As the pandemic continues to take a terrible toll on people who are most vulnerable and to shine light on long-standing injustice and suffering, we light this candle to help us hold space together for processing what is happening in our world. We light this candle that we may not be numbed to injustice, authoritarianism, illness, and trauma, but rather find strength, courage, and love together to continue engaging with the struggles for liberation, justice, and healing. After we light this candle, let's hold 20 seconds of silence to listen to our hearts and our bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers. And now, as Alex plays some centering music, if you're joining us from home, please feel free to use chat to let us know your chalice is lit. Everything changes. We know that this is one of the laws of living. And those of you who are at home have been noticing that the service broadcast and the sanctuary look different today, as well as the fact that we're trying to figure out how mics work with this new setup. So, in addition to mics, I'm curious, what are some things that you have noticed already? If you're at home, I invite you to drop some of them in the chat to let us know what are some things that you've noticed that might be happening a little differently. Some of those things that you may be noticing that might be starting to appear are that this is the first time that almost our entire Sunday worship service team is together in the sanctuary in almost a year and a half. That's a long time. We're piloting using our new AV system for the first time. The camera angle looks a little bit different than it did before. We're beginning to move to multi-platform online and in-person services. Today, some of the COVID team, Board of Trustees, and worship associates are attending this service. I don't know if you can see them if you're online or not. And as August continues, we're going to be inviting some more people who will be involved with services, with running them, to begin attending our services in person on Sunday mornings to learn more about our sanctuary setup and other COVID measures so that in September we can begin having more complete, more full, multi-platform, online and in-person services. This is a process of experimentation and of change. It's also a process of engaging with grace, with humor, and with the spirit of creativity and play. And so we need you, all of you, whether you're somebody who's here in person or whether you're somebody who's online, to be part of this. Particularly, we need people to help run our AV system and host our Zoom service, people who can be at UUS. Jeff Wahlberg has worked to make the process simple and user-friendly, but we'll also need more volunteers who can learn the system so that we can keep it going and not burn out the few people that we have currently on the team. You're also going to be seeing other calls for other kinds of volunteers as we keep going with this process, including recruiting new worship associates, looking for people to be part of other ways of engaging in this. Creating multi-platform congregational life that's going to welcome and include everyone, that integrates people who are participating through different platforms, those of you who are online and those of you who are in person, that is going to take the commitment, the creativity, the energy, and the love of all of us, right? It's going to take us doing all of this through worship, as well as through religious education, through small groups, through music opportunities, through justice and service work, and through much more. This is going to be a huge year of figuring out what it means to be a different kind of congregation, but also to still be the same kind of congregation that engages with everything with heart, with love, with compassion, and with creativity. This is what this congregation has had and will continue to have. Now, as some of you have noticed, today change is also about more than just how many people are here at UUS and how the broadcast of the service is happening. We also have 2 new staff. You've already heard a little bit from Alex Heatland, our Director of Congregational Music. Alex is responsible for the overall leadership of our music program, including helping us develop our approach to music for multi-platform, that's our in-person and online worship services. This is going to include helping us develop our approach to singing in accordance with pandemic guidance from experts. And he will direct the choir when it resumes. Pretty soon, people will also start seeing some calls for him about how to engage with performing instrumental music and other kinds of music in the sanctuary with him. Alex is a church musician and choir conductor with experience working in a wide variety of church settings. He's passionate about communal singing and excited to help groups and individuals find their voices. Alex grew up in DeWitt, Iowa, and completed his Master's of Music in Choral Conducting at the University of Minnesota. Most recently, before coming here to be with us, he taught at an international boarding school in the foothills of the Indian Himalayas, where he taught choirs, singing, and music theory. Alex says that he enjoys musical theater and has worked with various theater companies in the Twin Cities. While he's here, he is also the director of the Choir of Eastern Iowa, and Alex will begin taking classes at the University of Iowa to starting this fall to complete the requirements for his teaching license in Iowa. So when you get a chance to talk to Alex, whether it's here in person or online, you can talk with him about some of who he is and welcome him. This morning, we also have joining us Marcia Thrall, our new Director of Lifespan Religious Education. Marcia is responsible for the vision, leadership, planning, implementation, and evaluation of spiritual and faith development programs for children, youth, adults, and families here at UUS. Marcia came to us directly from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring, Maryland, where she was the interim director of religious education for 2 years. As a lifelong Wisconsin resident, Marcia is excited to be moving back to the Midwest, where her adult children live in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Prior to her work at her previous congregation, Marcia spent a year as an interim religious education coordinator at a UU congregation in Wisconsin. Marcia has a BA in theology and philosophy with peace building certification from Mount Mary College in Milwaukee and a Master in Theological Studies degree from Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary in Evanston, Illinois, and she's currently in PhD pre-candidacy in Religion, Ethics, and Cultural Studies program at Chicago Theological Seminary. When you get a chance to talk with Marcia, I hope you learn more about her as well. And now Marcia will lead us in our time for all ages.
Thank you, Reverend Diana. I am grateful to be with you this morning. Our story was written for us by one of my colleagues, and unfortunately, I don't have her name in front of me right now, but I'll get back to you on that. And so we're going to begin. Who here knows the book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Excellent. Does somebody remember how Lucy Pevensey discovers Narnia? So what happens is Lucy looks for the perfect place to hide, and she opens up the door to a big wardrobe. She goes through the door and into the back of the wardrobe, and suddenly she's in a whole other world, a magical world with witches and fauns and talking beavers. Hi. Wouldn't it be cool if there were a magical world behind every door? When Lucy opened the door to Narnia, it didn't look like anything special. It was just a boring door to a wardrobe full of clothes and coats, but across its threshold was magic. Lucy already had a foot in Narnia before she quite realized what was happening. Many of the thresholds in our lives are like this. We don't know what we're crossing into another world until we're already halfway there. The door of a church takes us down a pathway of growth we might never have expected. The door to a doctor's office suddenly opens out into a life with a hard diagnosis. A restaurant door opens onto a first date and echoes forward into the relationship of a lifetime. A beloved person's door closes behind you and sends you out into the world heartbroken. The door to a library or a gym or a dance studio introduces you to a life's passion you might not have discovered otherwise. And we cross these thresholds every day of our lives, for good and for ill, in joy, in sorrow, and in bittersweet truth. Truly, even our own front door is a great threshold, no matter how familiar the worlds within and without may be. Given our lives' reality of constant change, every day we open the same old door over and over again, only to step out into a world that is new since the day before. In this way, there is a new world behind every door, awaiting our discovery, if we will only encounter it as such.
Thank you, Marcia. So, a couple weeks ago, within the past couple weeks, I was watching Star Trek Voyager. There's this episode, some of you who are fans may remember this episode. There's this episode where B'Elanna Torres, the ship's engineer, crash lands on a strange world. Now, this is kind of a trope that continues on in Star Trek series. We often see somebody crash landing on a strange world. This time, when B'Elanna Torres crash lands, a playwright finds her unconscious discovers her logs and uses her arrival as an inspiration for a series of plays that he's writing. As he's writing one of the place that they're in, this city-state, country kind of place, I'm not sure exactly what to call it, it moves to the brink of war. And the playwright decides to try to use the play to cultivate a spirit of peace, to try to pull them back from the brink of war, to change hearts and minds, and to help remind people of what they're dedicated to and why. But in trying to write something new, in trying to change the story, something new into something new that is also as old as time itself, he becomes confused. B'Elanna, focused on repairing her ship so that she can get home, back to her normal life and the people she loves, back to Voyager, she stops helping him write the story. Now this makes everything worse. And so he begins to throw everything that he can think of into the story, into the play that he's creating, almost including the kitchen sink. And in almost no time at all, this playwright has overwritten the story. Now, have you heard this idea of overwriting? Can anybody tell me what it is? If you're online, you can drop it in the chat. If you're here, you can tell me out loud. What's overwriting? Anyway, too many words. Too many words. Sorry? Becoming confused? Yeah, it's when someone is writing something, it becomes too elaborate, too ornate, too complicated. It often happens when we're thinking about some big, complicated change, some threshold, and we're trying to explain why it happens, or what changes, or how it changes. And that takes us into something new, or when we're trying to explain something, but we're not sure what we're trying to explain, or we're not sure how or why it happens. You get caught up in all the surface details, trying to make everything work out just so, and trying so hard for something, for perfection, for the perfect story, or for things to be the way they were, that your efforts just result in everything becoming more complicated and becoming a mess, right? It's frustrating and confusing when it happens to you. And as I think about overwriting and the reasons that we do it and how it feels, there's a part of me that is confused and exhausted and hurting after almost a year and a half of the pandemic, and that wants to make everything work out, that aches. Maybe you know how that feels. Because there's a part of all of us that's felt lost and alone and scared this past year and a half, that wants things to be where they were before, what they were before. That as we move into new parts of the pandemic and wants everything out to work out, can just start throwing everything, including maybe even the kitchen sink, at the problems, and can start overwriting the story. So let me tell you another little story of something else that happened in the last couple weeks during July. I went on a little camping trip. It just kind of happened because it happened. It wasn't something I had a big elaborate plan for. And as luck would have it, I found my way to a campground that was on a slough off the Mississippi River. I just happened to notice that they had a launch for kayaks, and so I decided to take mine. And the next thing I knew, one Sunday morning, I was kayaking on the upper Mississippi River, drifting along in a slough, navigating in stillness, listening to the eagles, the red-winged blackbirds, and the deep, dank silence that is fog on water. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know that there was peace like that, just waiting for me that morning, that weekend. And I definitely didn't know how much I needed it until I was there on the water with everything sinking away, with peace and love and connection, interdependence sinking into my heart, my soul, in a way I hadn't been able to let them for a year. I think for all of us, as we're in this time where it is so easy to let ourselves move into overwriting what we need, what we're seeking, is grace, is creativity, is play in these changing places. We're finding a need to lean into it, perhaps relax into creativity and play. And that requires trust. It requires trust that something is there, holding us, waiting for us. It requires trust and connection with each other, connection with something larger, the sacred, the holy, whatever you call it, however you know it. Grace, a willingness to change and to try something new. Sometimes, perhaps often, the things that we need most are the simplest, and the way that we get ourselves out of it when we begin overwriting is to remember what's most important, the main reasons and the things that our hearts need the most. And we find ways to reconnect with them. And so as we move into the coming months, at home, at school, at work, at church, let's help ourselves and each other remember to lean into grace, into creativity, into play, amidst all the change, the upheaval, the uncertainty. For together, we can find our way. So may it be. Blessed be. Amen. And now I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of love, Spirit of life, we come together today in many ways, from many places, scattered across the U.S. and here, from homes, from fields, from hospital rooms, come together with full hearts, some that are aching and exhausted, some wondering, why me? Why my loved one? Why my neighbor? Some of us rejoicing amidst connections renewed, amidst peace found. As we come together today, help us hold each other. Help us find strength, courage, patience, faith, and love in our own lives and as we journey together. May we learn to fall. May we learn to relax into grace and trust, into the arms of love that are here holding us, even when we don't perceive, even when we don't notice you. Amen. Join me in some silent meditation.
Hi again, everybody. I understand we're having quite some trouble with the Zoom music. The good news is a lot of the service coming up is pre-recorded. The bad news is I have 3 more musical things to do. I'm going to play them quite loudly. I'm sorry for you here, but I hope that might fix some of our stuff. Schön ist die Welt, drum Brüder, lass uns reisen, wohl in die weite Welt, wohl in die weite Welt. Wir steigen froh auf Berge und auf Hügel, wo uns die Sonne grüßt, wo uns die Sonne grüßt. Wir haben uns an jede Felsenquelle, wo frisches Wasser fließt, wo frisches Wasser fließt. Wir reisen fort von einer Stadt zur anderen, wohin es uns gefällt, wohin es uns gefällt.
How we give, what we do with our lives, our time, and our resources is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is the Free Medical Clinic. Close to 300 volunteers from various disciplines, including medical, specialty, and prescription, provide thousands of hours of services to the clinic each year, helping to make primary health care possible for those without insurance. On the screen, you will see instructions for how to give online, or you may take this time to write a check and address an envelope to UUS to be put in the mail. You may assist our community partner, contribute to the congregation to provide additional support for our operating expenses, or contribute towards your pledge to our society. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
Never be afraid to love, never life is in each brilliant light, so always look up at the stars. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. It always comes back 10,000,000-fold to those who aren't afraid to love. Never hang your head in shame. Never hang your head in shame. You are a wonder of this wide world, so never hang your head in shame. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. It always comes back 10,000,000-fold to those who aren't afraid to love. Never turn away a friend. Never turn away a friend. You never know when you'll need one, so never turn away a friend. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. It always comes back 10,000,000-fold to those who aren't afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. It always comes back 10,000,000-fold to those who aren't afraid to love.
A reading this morning is a poem, Music Arises, by Arlen Goff. Music arises from depths unknown, often without words, but never without meaning. And spirit rises from deep within me, seducing my body to join the song. First a tremor in the soul, then tapping of toes. Breath aligns with breath. Heart beats in syncopation, and a stuttering buzz in my throat becomes a hum. Breath with breath, beat with beat, and music and spirit arise together. Wed with faith and hope and love and power, a song is born, bursting from my lips in sweet, sonorous symphony. A melody joining with other souls, perhaps in tune, perhaps not, but a song still, arising from deep within and from community. Spirit moves, soul births song, and hope fills life, and I am not alone. How can I keep from singing?
Thank you, Peggy. Today's been a day where we've had some hellos, and now is our time to say goodbye. Goodbye to Dave Rowe, who's been our online music leader for most of the past year. We know that music touches parts of our minds, our hearts, and our spirits that little else does. Music helps us feel and deepen and grow, and Dave's music has been a connector, a bridge, a through line for us this year. For that, I and we, as a congregation, will always be grateful. And so, we are coming into our ritual of parting. Some of you have begun helping create a word cloud like we have done so many times this past year. And so now let's expand upon that word cloud for Dave. We're going to create a word cloud of ways that Dave has touched our lives that we'll share with Dave after this service is over. To join in creating it, please go to menti.com. Peggy's going to be dropping this into the chat. There's a link that you can click on, or you can go to menti.com and use that code that she just dropped in there. Please join in creating this word cloud for Dave as Alex plays some music. Feel free to keep adding to that word cloud. We've known from the beginning, from almost a year ago when Dave joined us, that Dave would leave us when we were ready to move back to in-person, or what we now call multi-platform services. And so now is our time to release Dave from his service to us. And this is another part where you come in. So now do you, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Society, in gratitude for all that Dave has been to us, offer your blessings and well wishes to Dave and release him from his service as our online music leader. If so, please say or type, "We do." We do. Dave, as you shift into your new home and a new part of your life's journey, know that you are surrounded by love and gratitude. Members and friends, I invite you, as I see you already doing, to type your blessings, well wishes, and gratitudes for Dave into the chat. After the service, we'll get these to Dave, a reminder of our love and care. And now Dave will lead us in our closing hymn, number 100, "I've Got Peace Like a River." If you're at home, we invite you to sing as loud as you'd like. If you're here in the sanctuary, we invite you to sing quietly into your mask or to hum as it suits you.
got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
And now, please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. And now, as you go out into the week ahead, I invite you to lean into grace, creativity, into play, into all that sustains you, into all that we need right now. And go in peace, love, and justice, always living love more fully and fiercely into the world. Amen, and blessed, blessed be.
is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
Joy is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
Faith is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
Hope is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Peace is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives
Thank you for participating with us this morning, and thank you also to those who prepared and led our service today. In a few minutes, for those of you who are on Zoom, I will invite you to join a small group breakout room with several other service participants randomly assigned so that you can have conversation with each other. You will have the option to move yourself between breakout rooms for those who are familiar with doing that. You can also send me a chat if you want to be in a particular room, or just stay in the main room or leave your breakout room, and I can move you to another room, or Emma may be doing that this morning as well. You can leave a breakout room at any time to rejoin the main room, or you can leave the Zoom meeting altogether directly from the breakout room. I didn't check with them ahead of time, but I'm hoping Dave Rowe and Stacy Guth will be willing to stay in the main room online so that anyone who wishes to have conversation can just remain in the main room with them. We will also have a brand new all-ages religious education breakout room with Marcia Thrall, our new Director of Lifespan Religious Education. This is different than our previous family breakout room. It will not be only for families with children, but be an opportunity for anyone of any age who wishes to discuss themes from today's service. Anyone who wants to learn about our UU Wellspring program, I would invite you to send me a chat. I will stay in the main room for a few minutes, and then I will go into the Wellspring breakout room, or you can move yourself there if you would like conversation and questions about UU Wellspring. In just a moment, those of you who are on Zoom will have the ability to unmute yourselves. If you have a lot of background noise or don't want to be heard, you can remain muted. I also invite you to turn your video on again and switch from active speaker mode to gallery mode to see everyone. You may get a message saying a host has turned off your video if that happened during the service, and we will try to get that turned back on for you. Okay, in just a moment, after I get back to my computer, you should be able to unmute yourself, and for those who are here in person, you're welcome to leave, have conversation appropriately distanced, and wave. Okay, yes, may be visible in the camera.